We're in business. Okay, I apologize. I guess I was waiting for somebody to tell you who I was. But we'll get started right now then. All right, if people straggle on in, that's fine. My name is Jim Fenton. I'm the director of the Florida Solar Energy Center, which is at the University of Central Florida Research Institute. We have been around since the Arab oil embargo of the 70s. And believe it or not, we were created by the Florida legislature, not by the president of the university. Because at that time, everyone was going to put solar hot water heaters on their roofs. And we were concerned that maybe you wouldn't get a good quality product or it wouldn't be put safely. We still continue that same sort of mission here today. These are all the sort of mostly funded, DOE-funded programs. So energy efficient buildings through the Building America program. We're the Department of Transportation's only electric vehicle transportation center in the United States. We're very active in PV manufacturing, particularly on the crystalline silicon side. With those activities, we're one of 5 regional test centers in the United States. Florida is hot and humid and has lightning. So what do the PV panels do in those environments? So we're actively involved in that. Helped out Broward on the Go Solar to streamline the permitting activity. We had the Solar Ready Vets until the current president got rid of the Solar Ready Vets program because that was an Obama program. And then likewise, we have the Solar Training Network, a lot of educational programs, and we're actually helping the state as a whole in Drive Electric Florida. So we sort of help run that program. That involves everybody. One of the things that you're sort of hearing is that with solar energy, the real issue is who owns it and who makes the profit. That's what the whole argument is about. Okay, and there's rules set up. When it comes to electric vehicles, at least most people think everybody wins. So we have interesting debates where maybe Duke Energy and the Sierra Club are arguing over coal plants the day before, and today they're talking about electric vehicles and they're holding hands. Okay, but that's the way it is. Okay, you need to be aware of that. Okay, so the issues with solar is where's the free real estate and who owns it and who makes the money. Those are the issues. All right, these are prices. These are things, in some cases, everybody knows what the price of gasoline is. They know where the cheapest price of gasoline is. You buy it from the same station for whatever reason. Do you know where the cheapest McDonald's hamburger is? Do you know where the cheapest Starbucks coffee is? It's amazing. When it comes to gasoline, you know what the money is. Now, you may not know how much money you spend on a year, but you do know the price per gallon. Okay? All right? Most people don't even know what the units are on electricity. Okay? They know that their monthly bill is something. There's another thing. You pay for gasoline before you use it. You pay for electricity after you use it. You can argue whether those are different behaviors too. So we know what we know, and we all know the price of a gallon of gasoline. We know that it's gone up and down. It fluctuates a lot, relatively speaking. Price of electricity out of the wall has been relatively flat. In the 80s and 90s, we were in the 6 to 8 cents a kilowatt hour. And then in the 2000 time frame, it started going up. Okay, China and India came online. Supply and demand really does work. All those people in China and India that weren't consuming stuff that made electricity, all of a sudden consumed it. And so prices went up. It's kind of simple, all right? But it ultimately went out. The only place we put solar in the 80s and 90s was on spacecrafts because I couldn't run an extension cord that long. It cost too much, okay? So this is the electricity equivalent. $2.90 to 55 cents compared to 6 to 8 on the wall. So nobody did this. Nobody did it in 1996. Yeah, believe it or not, some people were starting to do it in 2005. Okay, at 30 cents. Okay. Then we had 2015, and the nation's average was $3.73 a watt. And then with the income tax credit in Florida Sunshine, that turns out to be 8.6 cents. So it was a few years back where we crossed over. And it actually was cheaper out of the wall. So alternative energy will be an alternative until it's cheaper. Okay? So coal is an alternative now. Okay? And it's one you have to subsidize to go ahead and justify using it. And apparently the current administration thinks that's what they should do. But nonetheless, that's where we're at. Now, the other thing you should really understand is how fast it's been dropping. Okay? I do want to show this to people, because I don't think they understand really what energy is. You take something that's got some intrinsic value and you burn it up and it's gone. So you've got the value of your house, you burn it up, it's not worth anything anymore. Now, hopefully you got some pleasure out of burning your house down, okay? Because that's the only way I can describe this stuff. Well, that's exactly what energy is. So if you look at this, you don't have to worry about the numbers, but just look at the big pictures here. These are all the primary sources of energy. So solar, nuclear, natural gas, coal, petroleum, they're all over here. And then these are the things that we convert them to something that's more useful than these forms. So in the case of electricity, we convert all these things over to electricity. And then that electricity, it's the gold now, goes to things like your house, commercial, or industry. There's a little teeny bit down here that goes to transportation. All right, so that's what we do. We convert that stuff that's a primary source of energy, and then we turn it into something that's useful. Now let's look all the way over here at the end. So 70% of primary energy is wasted. And do you know what the efficiency of your internal combustion engine car is? It's 27%. So you take that chemical energy and you make heat with it and throw it out into the neighborhoods, okay? That's what we do, right? This is Florida's numbers. So we spend $56 billion on energy. Does anybody know what the state's budget is? $80 billion, okay? I hope we spend all that money in the state of Florida. Now, all that primary source of energy, I hope. We can argue about it. I hope I spend it wisely. When we argue about all those things, does a dime belong in my pocket or the teacher's pocket? You can argue about it. It's a good argument stand. Why aren't we arguing about this number? We spent $56 billion. What do you get for it? Hopefully a worthwhile experience of some sort. Okay, so clearly we need to be far more efficient in the way we do things. The last thing you want to do is spend money on energy because it's gone. Okay, so this is the level of that. See if I give you the... All right, now in Florida, this is the electricity. This is the total number of electric customers that we have in the state of Florida. So we have residential, which is the bulk of them. We have commercial, and there's something called industry, which apparently doesn't show up in Florida. Now that industry on a percent basis isn't too many, but their energy usage is up there, 7.8%, which is better than its number, but you can see that 90% of electricity is used in our buildings. By the year 2050, talking about 100% renewables by 2050 and all these kind of things. Okay, but by the year 2050, 75% of the buildings that exist in 2050 are alive and kicking today. So the future is about retrofitting and fixing our buildings. We can build new homes really well. We're good at that. There are people that are selling you net zero energy homes in Florida. Okay, they're more cost effective than buying the piece of crap that's called minimum code. Because that's exactly what code is the worst building you can build by law. Who wants to own one of those? Okay, so there are people selling it now. But our real goal is to fix the buildings that we already have. Okay, now, everybody's familiar with the blue and red maps. Okay, and there's occasionally purple when you get, Florida's purple, because we have one senator that's Republican, one senator that's Democrat. But we have a purple map. I'll remind you that that map only describes 100 jobs. That's all it does, and we argue about it all the time. This is the real job map. Now you notice the South is white, okay? Green's a better color here, by the way, okay? And why is that? Well, predominantly, those states that have had lots of coal or lots of cheap electricity haven't decided they were broken. Okay, so they did pass an RPS or an RPS goal, or a renewable portfolio goal. If you don't like mandates, you can use goals. That's visionary. Let's try to reach the goal. And these are all the states that have done that. The South hasn't done that. Though over the last several years, these southern states went green. Believe it or not, West Virginia was green. Back when West Virginia was paying 7.8 cents for coal electrons, it said, sure, we should advocate for solar. I mean, it's 40 cents now, at that time. And so they said, well, we'll be green. Okay, now they actually are putting solar panels on the Coal Museum in Kentucky. Because it's cheaper, okay? And the museum's all about cheaper, but it's there, it's on the museum. So this is kind of the history. So I'm not gonna go into the details, but a lot of the reasons why these other states went green is because their electricity prices were much higher than ours. Okay, so in New Jersey, as a Republican governor, which advocated third-party sales, Okay, the reason they really pushed this was that electricity prices for people's homes were 18 cents a kilowatt hour. So we dropped down to 13 or 14 cents for that solar to put in your house. It was cost effective for people in New Jersey. You were paying 10. It's 14 cents on your roof. Is it worth it? Now that you can pay 4, guess what? It's worth it. This has happened just recently. Okay? Now let's tell you a little bit about the different conventional technologies here. Under Bush's administration, we had something called Solar America and Solar America roofs. And what Bush said he said in the year 2015, Americans are going to be able to put solar on their roof and it's going to be cost effective compared to the grid. He got it right. It was. Okay? Turns out Obama liked the program so much, but the new president can't use the same name as the old president, so we called it Sunshine. Let's go out there and put a new thing, okay? All right, which is good. I'm all for that. So the Sunshot goals, so we'll talk about that. So the Sunshot goal was in the year 2020 that utilities without subsidy could make electricity at 6 cents a kilowatt hour with solar. Okay? That was, wait, okay. There we go. All right, but in 2010, when we came out with that, the utility unsubsidized was paying 27 cents a kilowatt hour. And you can see that all these other things were cheaper. That was in 2010. Move ahead to 2016, unsubsidized, 7. In 2016, without the income tax credit, it's cheaper to own solar than it is a coal plant. So that's what happened. Happened fast, from 10 to 16, 4 times more expensive to cheaper. Okay? The nuclear has always been too expensive. Okay? Now we're down here to natural gas. Now what happens in 2017? They do get the income tax credit. So it's 3 cents a kilowatt hour in income tax credit versus natural gas. So solar is the cheapest thing to do. Florida will always do the right thing when it's the cheapest thing to do. Guess what? We're there, folks. Okay? That's why you need to tell your neighbors it's the best thing to do. And by the way, it's the cheapest thing to do. This is easy. You just got to go out and talk to them. Okay? Yeah, so that's where we're at. Now let me tell you about how it's happened so fast. So these are examples of recent large-scale solar that have been installed in the state of Florida. So in January of this year, PL put out an announcement that it had installed 3 75 megawatt power plants in the year 2016. In February, it put out an announcement that it was going to install 3 more, or is it 4 more? 4 more in 2017. In March, they announced they were going to put in 4 more in 2018. In April, they announced they're going to be 4% solar by the year 2023. Why would FPL, they've been fighting solar like crazy. Why would they do that? It's the cheapest thing to do, and they make money on capital equipment. There's no fuel cost here, which they can't pass on the cost of fuel to you. Well, they can pass on the cost here, it's 0, it doesn't matter. Okay, so they're making money. So the utilities are doing this like crazy because it works. Okay, all right, now, who makes the profit on solar? Depends on who owns it. Well, the utility's making profit on solar. You should own some too. You can do the same thing. Now, at the time we came out with these prices I showed you before, in 2010, this was the utility at 27 cents, and we talked about the goal was to be at 6 cents in 2020. We've come up with a new goal for utilities at 2030 at 3 cents. But let's look at residential and let's look at the commercials next. So in 2010, the cost was 42 cents. Remember, you're paying 10 cents out of the wall, or 12, maybe 11 or 12 at that time. Then the costs are supposed to come down. Okay, so in 2016, nationwide, we're paying 18 cents, and then 9 cents in 2020 and 5 cents. Now, one of the other things, and commercial sort of follows the same thing, I want you to notice the difference between this price and this price. Okay, because the utility, what they make it at, yeah, they can always make it cheaper than you can. The real question is, what do they sell it to you at, not what they make it at. So make sure that you understand the difference between that. Okay? The farmer, grows something for you, and what he gets for it isn't exactly what you get for it later on in the price. So be careful about those things. Well, then as you look at this, and they have to then add profit and put the transmission lines and everything else on. If you start looking down here to the 2020 goals, there's just a 3 cent difference. They can't ship it to you that cheap anymore. So their business model is broke. You can make solar cheaper than they can sell it to you because it costs them too much to ship it to you. And that's really what these numbers mean. Now, this is the earth-shattering thing. That's what you're paying with the solar cost. 5.6 cents without the income tax credit. That's assuming $2 a watt. Yes, several of the co-ops have gotten this to 2,000 a watt. It depends on where you are and much other kind of stuff. You got trees and some other things. But the reality is those are real numbers. That's what's on my roof right now. Okay? So, and the utility numbers have dropped too. So as I told you, even back here in 2016, they were down below that with the income tax credit and so forth. And they're down here even lower than that, probably doing it at 2 cents now. They still got to ship it to you. Okay? Very interesting how fast this is happening. Now, community solar can be lots of things. The solar co-ops that we do here in Florida are it's community group purchasing. You lower the cost down. Okay? That soft costs are where the bulk of it is. Panels ballpark are 50 cents a watt. So you're paying $1.50 for other stuff. Includes a little bit of the inverter in there. But a lot of it is the paperwork and customer acquisition and all this other kind of stuff. Okay, those are costs. So the beauty about bringing it all together is that the person who wins these bids is expecting to probably get 100 sales versus having to knock on doors to get customers. So there's a lot of advantages to that. We can still drive those costs down. I agree while the panel costs won't go down. Okay, some of the soft costs will continue to go down. Okay, you got crews that are working all the time versus calling them in and out and so on and so forth. So we'll keep lowering those prices. But that's typically what we do. Now, there are, somebody mentioned the municipal solar. The municipal solar actually do co-ops in a way, or community solar in a way, where you don't own the panels, but you agree to purchase the electricity out of, say, 5 panels, 10 panels. You don't own them, but you get those panels with electricity out of them. And quite often, the municipal utility might even give you that at a fixed cost. So it's quite possible if you're paying out of the wall today, 12 cents, they might say, I don't know, we'll give you 13 cents, okay, but it'll be fixed for the next 25 years. And you may choose to buy it or not. That's your call, okay? Right? And that's what you might do with condos and apartment complexes. There are these models that people are trying, and it was mentioned that, could the owner of the apartment building go ahead and, buy the thing and sell you solar electricity? No, that's third-party sales. But you can put solar up on your roof and say it's included in your rent, and if you use too much, I charge you a surcharge, okay? It's not selling you electricity, see? So there's creative ways you can get around those things. It's a shame that we have to play games to do the right thing, but they can be done, okay? And then there's other kind of PACE model funding and so forth. I'll go through this quick. You've heard about it a little bit before. It's a painless process. It's good. And one of the things they used to always brag about, even if you choose not to do it, they have a big party at the end of the year. Okay, so you have fun with this, and you do get to meet your other people and hear their stories too. So it's a good thing. This is my version of that same table that we had up there earlier. I am using the $2 a watt. Okay, and then the federal income tax credit, and so 10,000, 3,000, 7,000. That's about the size system I put on my house. And depending on exactly on your solar irradiance and a few other little things, that's the amount of energy you produce in your first year. You can then do simple paybacks. For some reason, I used 12.5 cents here. If you're in FPL territory, it's one thing. If it's in new territory, you get different numbers here. But you can do all those things. The mayor mentioned the calculator that I gave him, which, by the way, I've got about 30 variables. Income tax break, your income tax, it's got all that stuff. What do you get for interest? How long is the mortgage? How long are you going to assume the degradation of the panels? There's a lot of things that go into calculate when you purchase something, what the equivalent cost is on an electricity basis. The issue with solar in a lot of the cases is that you're paying an upfront cost. Okay, where you buy electricity off the wall. It's kind of like, what's the best thing should I do? Should I lease a car or buy a car? But you guys, you all do that decision, but we all get different answers on that. So it depends a lot of the time. But it is a good deal. The rate of return, depending on how you want to do it, 14, 12, 13. Twice as good as the stock market, and it's constant. Okay, so if you want to make an investment, do that. Put $10,000 bucks, put it on your roof. I'll get back to my roof answer to somebody. Go get your local credit union, finance the solar, finance the new roof, and put it on your house simultaneously, and the solar will pay for your roof. It's true, it does. This is not granite countertops. It makes money for you every day. Okay? Okay? Granite countertops look good, but they don't make money until you sell the house. And maybe then they don't. This is guaranteed fixed. You do it. Now, interesting things just happened. This just has sort of come out. So we talk about our solar, where we are as status in the state of Florida. What were we, 12th? What were we just last year? I think we were 12th or something as far as the number. Somebody mentioned it earlier. Yeah. But with the recent solar that's just been going on like crazy, mostly FPL, we've actually moved up to 10th already, just because of FPL stuff. You know, we're still small. And then in the next 5 years, they're going to add 3.6 gigawatts. Nuclear power plants, 1 gigawatt. If you assume the sun shines 5 hours a day instead of 24 or 25 hours a day, 5 gigawatts of solar produces the same amount of electricity as 1 nuclear power plant. So why would you ever build a nuclear power plant? Now, I got to find a way to dump that electricity into batteries or something later, but you know, nuclear power plants are just way too expensive. But it's happening fast. And then if Jacksonville Electric does what they're saying, Duke says what they're doing, so by the time we get to 2022, we'll be number 2 in the country for utility scale solar. The question I have to you guys is, what will we be on residential rooftop solar? And that's all within your power. Just go out and do it. Convince your neighbors to do it. I don't have to wait for the legislature. You kidding? They're way behind you guys. Just go do it. So I don't know if we'll be number 2 when it comes to residential rooftop solar or not. Okay, but you know, those could be some senses of goals. Okay, that you want to do it. That's what the utilities say they're going to do. They're going to be number 2 in the country. The citizens personally should be number 1. Okay, if what I want is the most solar per person per roof in the United States. That's really what I want. Okay, you guys use electricity. Everybody else in the United States uses heating oil and everything else like this. So the potential for us to actually do that is there. We just have to get around to do it. Interesting slide here. This shows you the total the solar capacity installed per year. Okay, as we go along here. Everybody was worried that we're going to lose the income tax credit in 2016. You know, so bam, they did like crazy because they were worried they weren't going to get 30%, and then we passed it again, and so we had big utility. But you'll notice that each year, the utility solar is about the same. And you'll notice that commercial hasn't really taken off to the degree that residential is starting to take off. And I could argue that maybe that's not a straight line, maybe that's an exponential curve that goes up like this. This yellow line here is the total percent. You read over here to the right. So they're estimating that, well, they're not estimating, in 2016, about 2% came from solar. And then by 2022, they're telling us that 5% will come from solar. And if I add all the numbers up, did all that, I can tell you the percentage residential. But it's going up, everybody says it's going up. I like to show this to people because they talk about storage, they talk about where we are and where we'll be. Now these are worldwide plots. Okay, so you notice in 2016, we have utility scale solar is 3% and small scale solar is 2%. And you'll notice that this number in here, which is the total, okay, is about half, or less than half, I guess, than this number. Okay, this is what we're going to have in the year 2040 for the whole world. But you'll also notice that utility scale solar is 22, and small scale solar is 10. So I don't know if the utilities are going to go ahead and be number 2 in the country on solar, we add it all up, maybe we the residents should have half as much as they do. That seems fair. Why not? That's what the world's saying we're going to do. I always set that as a goal. That's a lot of solar, by the way. Okay, but then you do that. The other interesting thing I wanted to show you is that this pink stuff in here is flexible things. This is like demand response and energy efficiency programs and so forth. And you'll notice that these are now called flexible capacity out here. And then if I take that same pink wedge and move it down over here, you'll see that in 2012, this big pink part here, okay, were other flexible capacity. And demand response was down here. And energy storage isn't even on the plot. 2016, energy storage isn't even on the plot. 2020, energy storage isn't even on the plot. And then we start getting in here, here's your small scale batteries. It really isn't going to start taking off, assuming you believe these guys at Bloomberg's predictions. And then it starts taking off here. Okay? And then utility scale batteries will start taking off in here. But you, the customers, can do a lot of energy efficiency measures. years. And you will be asked to do that, and it will be cost effective for you to do that. Okay? So I like showing that. And it's always interesting here to think of is that the United States sort of thinks. How many people in here think iPhone is the most popular telephone in the United States? You're right. How many think iPhone is the most popular telephone in the world? You're wrong. Samsung kicks their butt like you wouldn't believe. Nobody else buys pickup trucks except for people in the United States. Okay? So when you think we don't like electric cars or these other kind of things because y'all want to buy pickup trucks, but that's what the US does. It doesn't mean the rest of the world does. And to be honest with you, we don't matter anymore. There's 5 times as many of you Chinese than there are you. And with Chinese buying stuff and growing and all this, and the same thing happening in India, supply and demand works worldwide now. What we choose to be doesn't mean that we lead in the market, which we did. When I was a kid, that was true. That's changed. So you can see here that when it comes to the biggest markets, you know, we're number 2, but you know, India, which has nothing, will at least be up to number 3, and China is 343. Now, when it comes to solar, by the way, Germany is still the leading country in solar. Their solar resources isn't as good as Alaska. Okay, so we shouldn't be good in sunshine. Okay, just because we're the Sunshine State doesn't mean we're going to live in solar. No, we're going to leave because there's 23 million people in Florida that want to make a smart investment and put solar on the roof. That's why we're going to leave, is because you guys are smart. We do have a decent solar resource. All right, now, I'll go through this with the home economics. I did this calculation. I'm sorry there's a lot of numbers here. It was interesting. So when South Miami did their mandate that new homes had to have solar on their roof, and everybody argued that government shouldn't be telling you what to do. Okay? So we had all that little argument. And so I wrote a story on it. It didn't get picked up in the paper. But my stories were entitled, you know, you don't like being told what you need to do. My mom told me I needed to brush my teeth all the time. And I hated doing it. Eventually I figured out, well, wait a minute, that's maybe in my best interest, especially when I have to go to the dentist and he's going to stick with your needle and all that other stuff. And eventually I learned my lesson. My mom hadn't told me what to do, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. So I went back and said, well, is it a good thing to do or not? So this is the calculation that tells you it's a good thing to do. So let's go through this. If you choose to buy an average home in Florida, $250,000 bucks. That's what it costs. Okay. If you don't put PV on it, the total price is $250,000. You go ahead and do a home down payment of 10%, $25,000 on here. Okay, your total down payment is that. Okay, and if you do 30-year mortgage at 4% interest rate, your mortgage payment is that. Your electric bill on this standard home in the state of Florida would be $125 a month. So your total cost per month would be $1,199. Now, if you chose to put enough solar on this house, and I think I did this at $2 a watt, and I can't do my math fast enough, so it's got to be 5.6 kilowatts right there, okay? In doing so, my electric bill would now go down to $11 a month if I put that on solar. So it's close to a net zero energy home. So I do that, add it on. Well, now the house cost me, if I bought it all at that time, $261,000. I had a home down payment of 10%, and then I also had, I forgot to put the number in there, $200 down payment for the PV system, so my total down payment was more. So I had to pay a little bit more on my down payment, okay? And correspondingly, my mortgage would go up. My mortgage would go up to $1,122. But my electric payment would come down to $11. So my total cost was now $1,133. So at the time I bought the house, if I had them when they were going through it and do the inspection and have them slap on solar before I even move in, and so on and so forth, I'd save $66 a month. Well, that seems pretty smart thing to do. Barely a little bit upfront cost, because I did have to pay the down payment extra in here, so it cost me $1,102 to get it. I almost get my down payment back, within year 2, okay, on my savings. Okay, so this is, everybody should do this. Okay, please throw me in the briar patch. Okay, but you got to convince me. You got to throw me in there sometimes. Turns out it's really where I really want to be. All right, now one of the things we talk about solar, and we've mentioned that energy efficiency is the way you can go. Now, everybody knows about an EPA, Energy Star, yellow sticker on an appliance. Have you ever bought a house with one of those? You know, you buy a car and they tell you what the miles per gallon is. You go and you buy a used car and you demand a Carfax. There's no law saying you have to have a Carfax, by the way, but everybody's giving them to you because you all ask for it. When you buy a house, how much energy do you use? We can grade our houses. It's easy enough to grade our houses. And we should be grading our houses much like appraisers go in when you buy houses and check to figure them out. And these grades will come back with you with the cost-effective things. I think the mayor mentioned that he did 4 or 5 things that were all cost-effective, and then he finally did the solar. Yeah, they'll give you a report. They'll tell you what the paybacks are. They do all that stuff, what they grade it. Now, what's an average home in Florida? This is a scale where 100 is the 2006 minimum code home. And 0 is an actual net zero energy home. So it's an easy scale. Okay, it's like centigrade, you know. You don't know what the numbers mean, but you know what 0 is, you know what 100 is. Okay, you got some number in between. So you can argue it's also a percentage savings. Now, the average home in the United States today, it's got about 130 rating on it. And the average home is cost effective for you to do efficiency ratings. Right away, you should do it. There's a hassle involved, but you still should do it. Okay, by all means, do these things. Because you're actually losing money by not doing them. That's what this thing sort of means. All right? Now, if you go to a 2006 code home, this is what you've got. So over that 130 rated home, okay, so I can take that 130 rated home and convert it to 100, and I'd save $539 a year by doing that. Okay, you could argue what the upfront costs are, and the answer is it depends on what you do. Okay, because you might need insulation, you might need better light bulbs, you may need a low shower flow nozzle, or whatever it may be, but they know how to do all that. And we move down the path. Here's a 70 home. Okay, over that 100 home, you're spending $539. So you're actually over the 130 home, you're paying $1,078, and that's the new Florida home. So the new home in Florida. The good news is the worst building by law that you could build today is a much better building than the worst building by law you could build earlier. Okay, so we are improving our building code, despite the best efforts of all the legislators. Okay, we are still doing that. Okay, so we're improving that. Okay? Now this is what a zero energy home is. A zero energy home in Florida is a cost-effective home to be. But how do you know if you're getting one? How do you know if you're getting a 7? We need to require that we grade all our homes. And at time of sale, just like it's in your best interest to go get somebody to appraise your house, you should get a rating done. And the banks will eventually figure out it's far better for you to give the banks money than you giving the money to the utilities. They like that. It also increases the likelihood of you being able to make payments on your mortgage and things. So this is, once again, it's an educational thing. So if I was going to go out there and tell everybody what I wanted to do, I would tell the legislature, grade your homes. As soon as you grade your homes, everybody starts putting solar on the roof. Okay? It's simple. And I would think there'll still be people who will complain about it. Okay, obviously, the utilities don't want you to do this. They don't have anybody to sell anything to. Okay? But, you know, some things like that. Now, somebody also hinted about the jobs. So these are Florida jobs here. This is not nationwide here. We actually participate with the Solar Foundation and actually do some of these job countings and things for them. But at any rate, you can see where the jobs are county-wise in areas like this. They also have the ethnicities and all the breakdowns and all that kind of thing of different people. But in 2016, we added 1,700 new jobs in Florida. Okay, the projected the job growth, somebody mentioned that before, in 2016 was 26%. 26% more people doing solar. We're projecting in 2017 that number will be 12. Veterans are 9%. These are the areas that they work. Okay, these are the, you know, how you can see that we're going to be number 2 in the country in utility scale solar by the year 2022. And 82% of the people that we put to work that live in the state of Florida are on your roof. So if somebody wants a job growth plan, encourage the utilities to put more solar in. But the real jobs are when somebody, your neighbor, comes and works on your roof. Even if the panels are made in China, the jobs are local. Now, I'd rather have the panels made here in Florida, and we can work towards that as well. That's the case. The other interesting thing is, solar jobs grew 10 times faster than the overall state economy. So if our governor's about jobs, he should be the solar governor, and there's nothing that comes close. So we do need to sell jobs. I also heard somebody selling the idea about water. It is true that the, oh, by the way, Adam Putnam is running for governor, and Adam Putnam himself is the Commissioner of Agriculture. There are more advanced energy jobs by a factor of 2 than there are agricultural jobs in the state of Florida. Advanced energy, that includes energy efficiency and some things like this. This message is not getting out there, okay? Now, the number of jobs that increase at the utilities, they don't go up too high, okay? But the advanced energy, that's fixing your homes. That's doing all that energy efficiency thing. And the solar jobs. It's the biggest growth rate in jobs in the state of Florida. And we've got lots of buildings to fix. Now, people ask me about the solar on your roof and what's that mean about the hurricanes and some other kind of things. And I'll get into that a little bit, but I thought you might get a kick out of these kind of numbers here. This is for island power. Now, most of the islands actually ship oil in. So Hawaii runs everything off of cars. Off of oil, diesel. Okay, Puerto Rico runs most of everything off of diesel. They did have some solar, but you got to ship this fuel to these islands. Okay, so they often run oil. So this is the cost of an existing diesel generator. So in this case, I've already paid for this diesel generator. It's an existing diesel generator. Okay, and so that's the fuel. This is all fuel. The capital cost is paid for. It's an existing diesel generator. Okay, and then that's the fuel, and then that's the operating expenses, the little light blue. So if you were going to go build a brand new liquid natural gas plant, okay, on an island, you'd pay for the equipment, you'd pay for the fuel, and you'd pay for the operating expenses. So a liquid natural gas plant is cheaper than an existing diesel one. It's already been written off the books. Okay. Now, if I add solar to the PV, okay, look at this. Cost is the same. And the interesting thing is, I got the same size tank of natural gas. The solarized, I told you, it's the cheapest thing around. The same size tank of natural gas. Well, 5 hours every day, I don't use the natural gas. So it lasts longer. And that economics is not included. Now, you go all the way with solar and lithium-ion batteries, and you can see where we are. Okay? So using fossil fuels as the storage instead of batteries is a cheap thing to do, particularly if you're going to use fossil fuels anyhow. So this might be the route that maybe islands will go to. But by the year 2025, lithium-ion battery here is down in this neck of the woods. So we can't maybe get off of fossil fuels on those islands. And what happens if the sun doesn't shine? Did you size the battery correctly and some things like this? But there's a path, and it's, in my lifetime. Okay? So maybe Puerto Rico is the new model. We'll see. We'll see. Now, and I promise you I'll get into the energy stories for your house, but I want to talk to you about cars first. So we can operate our buildings with electricity from utility and rooftop solar and energy efficiency. But we can drive our cars on Florida-made electricity. So we should be driving electric cars in one way because all the fossil fuels we buy aren't made in Florida, so we ship money across our state. We ship a lot of our money to countries that hate our guts, too. And I tend to like people from Texas a little bit more than I do people from Iraq. I'm sorry. I'm racist, I guess. But I hate sending money out across our borders. That's the real crime. So make it with using electricity. At least it's people in Florida that are making the electricity, even if they're using natural gas and stuff. Now, I'm buying natural gas from somewhere else, but at least it's that. So there's a big advantage of not shipping our money out. And as I told you, we can drive cars on electricity. It's cheaper gas than the day. Fossil fuels are going up, solar's going down, do these kinds of jobs and stuff. Well, let me give you the economics again. Same kind of slide I showed you before. This is for internal combustion engines. The cars aren't very efficient. They're amazing. They're violated Keep It Simple stupid. I remember pulling over to the side of the road. I lived in a state that had hills, by the way. We were having a challenge in Florida. But we had to put water in the radiator every 10 miles going up a hill. Okay, cars are incredible efficient, how good they are today. But oops. The average car on the road today gets 25 miles per gallon. That includes all the pickup trucks and everything else. Light duty trucks too. Okay. You can argue what the price of gasoline is. I got tired of doing this, because it was changing every week. So I just gave them all up there. Let's just, for the sake of it, assume $2 a gallon. And that's the cost per mile. I just divide this number into that one and get 8 cents a mile. So that's the cost per mile I pay. 8 cents worth of fuel. The cost for 12,000 miles, and the average person in the United States drives 12,000 miles a year. You can see those are the dollar values you pay. Now, if you run on an electric car doesn't get miles per gallon, it gets miles per kilowatt hour. And using 12.5 cents as a kilowatt hour price, price and dividing those two numbers together, I get 3.4. And you can see that 3.4 is less than half of 8. So if you're paying $2 a gallon, that same ratio is saying you're paying 84 cents per gallon of gasoline. Paying $3.85. Now you put solar on your roof, and you, with the income tax credit, you're doing the 4 or the 4.5 cents. It's the equivalent of paying 27 cents a gallon for gasoline. Gasoline at $2 a gallon is way too expensive. And you can make it in your own, well, not backyard, on your own roof. And you get to keep all the profit. And you put everybody in Florida to work. Electric utilities in the state of Florida aren't in the electricity business. They should be in the transportation fuel business. And by the way, you can get into that business too. Okay? So, it's very interesting when you look at these things. Now, but the cars, the upfront cost is terrible and horrible. That's true. I didn't get my Nissan Leaf until a few years ago. I love it, by the way. Okay, I love it. Let me talk a little bit longer. I'll steal time anyhow. Imagine yourself when you were young, sitting on that roller coaster, the wooden ones, you know, and they go click, 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 and you'd sit at the top, and you look down. It was scary and all, but you weren't. Your velocity was 0. You weren't going fast at all. Then you go over the edge, and you drop off. Your stomach drops as you go over the edge. You're not going fast, but you're accelerating very fast. I can do that same thing to you in my Nissan Leaf in the parking lot going 0 to 30. I can pin you to the back of the seat, and it's fun. They actually, you'll see people with Tesla cars where they put cameras in the car, and they put the person in the drive, and it's this grin, this big smile. You can feel that same way about that sexy thing on your roof and the thing in the garage too. Okay, you know, this can be fun. Okay, now batteries, just like PV, way too expensive. Look how fast their costs drop. These aren't in dollars a watt, these are in dollars and kilowatt hours. You know, it's the storage of the electricity. Kilowatt hours is the electricity you actually provide. But it's its ability to, how much can it hold kind of thing. And so the dollars per kilowatt that it can hold have dropped down suddenly. And we're speculating that we're kind of following this curve, cost curve. So by the year 2025, the initial cost of an electric car is going to be the same as the typical gasoline-powered car. And I told you the operating expenses are way cheaper. That solar argument I went with you, even with electricity out of the wall, it's half the cost. Because the battery is super efficient, 95% efficient. Internal combustion engine is 20-something. So you take the energy and you actually use it to make the wheels go around. Now, just another joke. There's only 9 moving parts in my car. That's the other beauty of a internal combustion engine car or an electric car versus that. The things don't break. I don't get oil changes after everything. I haven't visited anybody. I did have my lead acid battery, which they still give you one of those in the front. Actually went bad after 3 years, and I had to replace the lead acid battery. Lithium-ion batteries are doing great, but my lead acid battery, I need a new one. I know, the rest of you have to do that too, okay? But I was shocked that I had to do something, okay? It was surprising. I have had to refill the windshield wiper fluid a couple times. I think that's all I did. And the air, I put air in the tires, okay? But my Nissan Leaf only has 9 moving parts. 4 wheels, 3 windshield wipers, a steering wheel, and my mouth. And you can see my mouth moves very well. So I'm not only a solar evangelist, I'm an electric vehicle evangelist. And the main reason why I do that, I hate shipping money out of Florida's borders. And that's a good reason. You put everybody to work, and of course you help the environment. You do that, and you keep the money. Okay, there's a lot of good reasons we do this. Now, you can see where these prices are going down. And just like the solar then, you know, we're going to start, these sales are just going to go up like crazy. Okay? 2 years ago, we said we were going to get to 50% electric vehicle car sales in the year 2040. Now they moved it to 2038. He's getting better every year. Okay? And a lot of this, interestingly enough, is a function on how far you drive the car. So remember, the fuel cost for an electric vehicle is much cheaper per mile than a gasoline vehicle. And I did that assuming you drove 12,000 miles. Well, if you get in Ubers and Lyfts all the time, that car is now driving 30,000 miles a year, and you don't even own it, you don't have to pay for this and this and this. So the payback is way faster. So if we start moving into that area, these sales are going to go up through the roof. What is an automobile? It's a depreciating asset that you only use 8% of the time, and 2% of that 8%, you're hunting for a parking spot. Who in their right mind owns a car? That's the American dream. My kids don't believe in that dream, by the way. It's kind of weird how that goes. I thought cars were freedom. Of course, I felt that about bicycles, too. So, it's interesting. Maybe the greatest contribution I'm going to do, associated, we're actually working on autonomous cars and things like that, is that my kids won't have to drive me to the doctor's office when I'm 85. Okay? That may be the biggest contribution this stuff does. Yeah, the car just takes me there. And of course, the car probably gives me a whole body scan and figures out what my health is. Okay, so I'm almost done here. New and retrofitted zero-energy homes. Encourage us to get the rating, do the grading, make the home close to a 50 before you put the PV on it. Make it real efficient. Yeah. If you lose electricity then, you back up power, whatever it is, batteries or gasoline, it's smaller than it would have to be if you had a leaky house. So making the house efficient all year long saves you money. The solar saves you money all year long. But then when you lose power, you don't need as big a battery or as big a backup generator or what are you going to do. So you win on that deal. Okay, Florida utility and rooftop PV is cheaper all the way around. Everybody wins on that. We can get rid of fossil fuels in all kinds of ways. EVs are cost effective today. The range anxiety problem, we still have some infrastructure issues and where can I plug in? My cell phone and my car are the same thing. I plug them in. Well, my cell phone I actually plug in when I go to bed. My car I plug in when I get in the garage. And the next day it's full. Okay? It's just an appliance. Okay? Do you get joy out of going to gasoline stations? I'm like that one commercial that came out. I have to go there occasionally. I stop there. It's not that I'm into the candies and the sweets so much. It's an excuse to go to the bathroom, and then I buy the garbage. Okay, but I don't buy any gasoline. Okay, and I forget. So my wife has a Toyota Camry, which I drove today because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to plug in. I could get here, but the question is, could I plug in and get back? So I drove her car. And I make this mistake. On my car, I push a button and it turns the car on. In hers, I try to push the button and it won't let me because I have to move it into park first. Okay, I've forgotten how to drive an internal combustion engine car. Okay, and I look at it and I said, why do I have to, on my car, I just push the button, turn it off, and automatically puts it into park. Why do I have to do this? Well, that's the way it is. Energy storage I didn't really get into this. I should mention this. So, right now, if you put solar on your roof, I really encourage you to do that. And if you go with the Sun Boy inverters, as an example, they'll give you 2 plugs. Okay, so you could plug your refrigerator in when the sun is shining and the utility is down. It'll run your refrigerator for the hours that the sun is shining. So you can do that. It doesn't cost you any more to do that.
That's what I did during the storm, by the way.
Yeah, no, I know. And by the way, we have 130 schools in the state of Florida. I'm the aggregator for all those 130 schools, each with 10 kilowatt. So I could argue that the University of Central Florida aggregates 1.3 megawatts of solar, and we did that back in the 2009 timeframe, where we actually put lead-acid batteries, and those lead-acid batteries in the solar, in most cases, those all worked, and people were charging their phones off at the schools, okay, on these things that we put out as educational kind of data and things. School children are doing calculations that you guys are incapable of doing right now, because they do it every day. You guys hate more than 3 numbers. But anyhow, so there's a lot of interesting stories with that. But the problem with energy storage is while it's going down, there's no business model for you to make money every day by owning a battery. You don't make money doing that. So a battery or a gasoline generator is an insurance policy. I bought a gasoline generator. I actually hope every year I never have to turn it on. That's my real goal. It was an insurance policy for me. Okay, arguably I still go out and pay for a hotel room or something anyhow, but that's the cost. So we haven't quite got there yet. Now I believe we'll get to the point where, and by the way, if you have 3 cars in your garage and they're all electric, your cars consume just as much electricity as your house does today. So maybe I put PV on the roof. Enough PV, by the way, to charge my cars too. Okay, because I like paying 27 cents a gallon. It's a good deal. So you do all that, then maybe if I got 3 cars in the garage and I lose power, I can steal the energy out of the batteries. Okay, from my house. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that, okay? Now we've got to do a little things. We're changing that up a little bit. We need bidirectional chargers on board. The car right now, if you use the 3 kilowatts, the 3 kilowatt charger is what's in a Volt, 6 is in a Leaf, and I don't know what the Tesla is. Somebody got a Tesla in here? It's like 14 or something? What's the?
He wants a 14. He used to be 10 or 20 on the old Teslas. The latest one are 14.
14, yeah. So that's a good, there's a 220 volt, 50 amp plug or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good thing. pretty heavy, yeah, 60. It's bigger than your dryer plug, but you can do it in your house and it's fine, okay? So you keep in mind that a typical house doesn't use 14 kilowatts. Now, the Tesla isn't big enough for you to run multiple days anyhow. But if we make that a bi-directional charger on board the vehicles, I could plug it in and you can be filling the car, the moment the house loses power, it takes it out of the car. This is all there, and both those things make money for you all year long. So we will get to that point, okay? Now you can go ahead and get the energy storage. Utilities are buying energy storage because it can help with the grid, help strengthen things, provide more resiliency, not require them when new developments come in to run more power lines and some other kind of things. There's a business model for utilities. Not really yet for you, but it may be there with this. Okay, this is the second last slide. The gazelle does not have to outrun the cheetah, it has to outrun the slowest gazelle. And right now, there's no gazelles left anymore. So, you need to put a cheetah on your roof, okay? Okay? Because we can't have them chasing gazelles because they don't exist no more. So please, put a cheetah on your roof. Okay, you already saw this quote earlier. I add a little bit more on here. We are electric tenant farmers chopping down around the fence, around our house for fuel. We should be using nature as an inexhaustible source of energy. I put my money on the sun and solar energy. Thomas Edison actually said that here in Florida, in Fort Myers, to his good buddy, Harvey Firestone, and Henry Ford. And the reason why they were in Florida is they were pissed off that people who dug holes in the ground and raked the earth were making all the money. And they made useful products. They were down here looking for ethanol way back then in 1931 and escaping New York hot climate and coming down to Florida, or a cold climate at that time. I put my money in the sun, solar energy, what source of power, what I'm going to do all of that. So this is the new one. This is mine. Thank you very much.
We're getting ready to start the open forum, and at that time, if you have questions for any of our speakers, they ask our speakers if you're in the room. We have to wrangle the other group in here too, to sit closer to the front. So as you discuss among yourselves how we want to move forward, and you have questions for any specific speaker, like Dr. Jim Fenton, thank you very much. It was wonderful. A strong advocate for our program in the state. So stay put. We're going to try and wrangle next door, and so we can all come together and be thinking of the things that you learned in today's, any one of the sessions to talk about.